Well, the great game is on. Strategic competition, tariffs, quotas, subsidies. President Xi and President Trump are the figureheads of this new contest. But there are deeper structural forces at work, and China and the US have adopted a form of mercantilism as both countries seek to build their national wealth and strategic power from a positive balance of trade. That's why we see an increase in industrial policy, tariffs and technological protectionism for both countries. The bottom line is that we're seeing the growth of state-directed capitalism as US-led globalisation slowly breaks down and countries seek to secure their economic interests using all elements of their national power. China's Belt and Road Initiative is a case in point. Their BRI program is designed to secure their expanding global influence through commercial agreements. And of particular interest is critical minerals and strategic assets like ports in Africa, Latin America and the Indo-Pacific region. A good example of a BRI agreement is the 99-year lease of the port of Hambantota in Sri Lanka. China now controls a port that straddles key sea lanes in the Indian Ocean and that can stage elements of their blue water navy as required. The AUKUS deal would look very similar from a Chinese perspective, with the US Navy basing submarines from Perth in 2027 and onwards. And I think the challenge for Australia is to chart a course that secures our national interest without resorting to platitudes about a world of free trade and a rules-based order that simply doesn't exist anymore. And the Prime Minister's recent rare earths deal with President Trump revealed a new realism in our foreign policy. Ditto the government's ongoing support for AUKUS, albeit underfunded and behind schedule. But the point is that we need more hard-headed thinking here in Canberra, where we see the world as it is and not as we wish it to be. I think this is an urgent priority for us in the Pacific Island chain to our north, as China seeks greater influence with countries like Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu, Fiji and the Solomon Islands. And I think it's very clear that we cannot risk a Chinese deep-water port to our north. Now, there are many ways that we can avoid that using our national power and influence to deepen our partnerships with our Pacific neighbours. But tonight I want to add my support to the plan to introduce the Papua New Guinea Chiefs into the National Rugby League competition from 2028. I think this is a very important project that will build on our common love of the game of rugby league and join our nations in the great endeavour of sport. Now, I've spent time in Papua New Guinea with the ADF in Port Moresby and Lae, and I was struck by two things. The common Christian heritage that our nations share. I recall sitting on sentry duty in the jungles of Lae during my patrol course, listening to the local village sing hymns on a Sunday during their worship service. I can still remember the rain coming down softly as those beautiful voices travelled through the foliage, carrying the melody of Wesleyan hymns. And I think that common Christian heritage is very powerful as it acts as an immediate cultural bridge when you meet people. I knew what a local chieftain meant when he told us that he was a steward of God's creation and that we were welcome on his land. The second thing that struck me was Papuans' deep love of rugby league. You can't go far without seeing a reference to the National Rugby League competition. Returning from a patrol in Lae, we saw one bloke walking down a quiet road all by himself, dressed in New South Wales Blues State of Origin kit. He got a massive shout-out from the boys in the truck. I think it's very clear that we have a deep connection through that sport. I was reminded of this over the weekend in Perth when I took my son Jonathan to a friend's birthday party. The father hosting us is Papuan and played rugby league, and we spent time reminiscing about the NRL greats from the 90s. I have a love of game too, growing up in Sydney, backing the Balmain Tigers and playing for the Enfield Federals Rugby League Club in 1992 for the under-10s. We had a former South Sydney's Rabbitohs first grader as our coach, and he showed us how to play. Tough tackles, quick hands, moving as one line in defence. Young Australians do learn a lot through sport, Mr Speaker, so I am glad that we are starting the Papua New Guinea Chiefs in 2028. No doubt it will have its challenges, and it's a big financial investment of $600 million over a decade for the Australian people. But done well, if we do this well, we can build a new institution with the Papuan people and deepen our partnership as neighbours. Thank you.
Authorised by Andrew Hastie, Liberal Party, Mandurah.